Welcome to Building Better Relationships with Chuck and Barb Lewis, equipping listeners and viewers with the biblical tools to conquer the difficulties faced in this life. Chuck has practiced crisis intervention since the 1980s and has been in ministry together with his wife Barb for over 20 years. They've taken the countless lessons and the knowledge they've acquired and have put them into this life skills class to share with you. We hope this blesses you.
Well, hello again. I'm Pastor Chuck Lewis, and this is my wife.
I'm Barbara.
And we're excited to be with you for another Building Better Relationships broadcast. And today we're going to be talking about a topic that is different than I think we've ever talked about. And what is the name of the topic?
It's about being intentionality.
Being intentional. And boy, that can mean a lot of things, but we're going to be talking today about how important it is to be intentional about doing things that affect our relationships and our personal lives, even when you don't feel like being intentional.
Right. I mean, following through. Having an intention to do something, but following it through to completion.
Yeah, so how that affects our relationships are really big because you've heard the old saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
That's right.
And there's a lot of people that kind of live their life feeling like, they're going to do a lot of things in their life someday.
Right. Yeah.
One of these days I'm going to do this. Or there can be projects around our home that's not being done. And a lot of housewives right now are saying, amen, preach it, brother. And it's just easy to put things off that we don't want to do.
Right, and kind of reminds me of that verse in Romans where Paul said, I don't understand what I do. For the good that I want to do, I don't do. The things I don't want to do, I do. And that's Romans 7:15 through 20.
Right, yeah. So again, good intentions can be, someday I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, but the someday never comes.
Right.
So we have to be very intentional on what we want to see accomplished. And the beginning of a new year sometimes is some good intentions that people have. It's funny. When we go to the gym, I see the gym completely packed out in January and February, and then March it kind of starts calming down, getting back to where it normally is the way it was. But we might have an intention to be more honoring to each other or more respectful, and that can last for a little while. But it's making a decision to say, I'm not going to be intentional just for a short period of time, but I'm going to work on this to where it becomes a habit, basically.
Yeah, think about Noah and how committed and intentional he had to be about building the ark.
Yeah.
And how much opposition he had. Oh. How many years it took to do that.
Yeah.
There'd never been a need for a boat that big.
And there hadn't been rain. So
it's like, I mean, how committed could you stay if every day people were telling you you're crazy, you don't know what you're doing, but he was faithful, to stay committed to the Lord, and I'm sure that he was telling people about the Lord, and because of his faithfulness, his family was saved, which he was a type of Christ.
Yeah.
Because he saved his family, was saved through him.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, and people really thought he was crazy until it started raining.
Right.
And then they wanted to get in that boat. Well, it's too late.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about being intentional, is you could have a goal and a desire to be intentional throughout your entire life, but then there comes a time where you run out of time.
Right. Well, what are some things that an area that you feel like you need to be intentional and to do something different?
One thing that I heard years ago from Gary Smalley is something that I had never heard before, and I didn't see it practiced a lot in my home of where I grew up. And that was how to honor each other.
Yes.
And honor and respect was something that I just really didn't see it demonstrated like I do today. And I didn't know how to live it, more or less teach it. So I think that was a changing point of my life to learn how to honor, each other.
Right. So you learned about that, realized how important it was in relationships, and then you needed to have a commitment to do it.
Yes.
And Galatians 6:9 says, "Don't become weary in well doing, for in due time you should reap."
Right.
So,
right.
I know with me, I've really benefited from your commitment to be honoring. In fact, I think I had a pastor speak a word of knowledge over me one time, and he talked about that I had experienced rejection in the past, but I was now going to receive double honor.
Wow.
And I feel like you have definitely given me that double honor.
Well, that's exciting, and I was only able to do that is because I had to apply myself to learn about it. It was kind of embarrassing as a man to not even know what it was. Like if somebody would have came up to me and said, "How do you honor your wife, or how do you honor people around you?" I wouldn't have had a clue what to even say. All I could have said was, "I don't even know what you're talking about." I don't know how to honor anybody. I needed the definition of the word, and maybe you're listening right now and you're thinking, "Yeah, give me the definition. I don't even know what it is." Well, honor is when you treat something with high value and high regard. The first time I bought a brand new car, and I seen a mud puddle, I would drive a block out of the way to avoid that mud puddle because I didn't want that mud to get on my new car. Yeah. That's what honor is. It's treating something with high value, and you respect it so much that you don't want to see anything harm it in any way or make it look tarnished in any way. And if you have the same attitude in your relationship and you of whatever with your kids, with other family members or your spouse, you think, okay, I feel like saying this or that or whatever, and then you think, well, how honoring would that be if I said that? And if it doesn't sound like that would be very honoring, you probably shouldn't say it.
So you are kind of what I've heard of having an internal editor.
Yes.
So you're thinking about what you're going to say before you say it.
Right.
And we like an acronym that is the word THINK. And THINK stands for is what I'm going to say, thoughtful, helpful, intelligent, necessary, or kind.
Right.
And if it isn't one of those things, then we don't need to say it.
Absolutely.
But I like what you said too about it's not just honoring your wife, it's your family and your other relationships. And I believe if you treat your daughter with honor when she's at home, she'll know what to look for in a man. She will not settle for a man that doesn't treat her with honor and respect if that's what she's used to receiving at home.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and in fact, if you're in a family that you're being treated with dishonor, the chances of you marrying somebody treating you that way are very high because that's what you're used to. But the truth is, God wants you to be honored, He wants you to be respected, and He wants you to be treated with high value, because I want you to even write this down if you need to. You are worth it.
Yes.
You're worth it. I've had people say, I've never had anybody say that to me before. And I've thought, wow, that's incredible. But I get excited about being the one to tell them the truth, that they are worth it. We're living in a world where I think so many people are depleted of affirmation. And the Lord's been teaching me to open the door for people, and then when they walk through, I say, you're welcome because you're worth it. And the minute I tell them you're worth it, I've had people stop right in their tracks and say, did you just say that I was worth it?
Yeah.
They can't believe it. It's like, I've had people say, I don't think anybody's ever said that to me before.
Right, and just recently you said that to a lady that had her arm in a bag by her side, and when you said that to her, she pulled out her arm and she was missing her hand.
Yes.
And because she was missing her hand, she didn't feel worth it.
No.
She felt like there was something wrong with her.
Right.
And she wasn't worth having somebody treat her like she had high value.
Right, right. And when she pulled her arm out, she showed me that she was missing a hand, and she says, "Am I still worth it?" And I said, "Absolutely you are, because God does not judge you by your body. He judges you by your spirit and who you are inside." And that lady started crying like a baby, yes, right there in the store, the entrance of the store, because it ministered to her so much. She'd never heard that before.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that we should talk about being intentional and following through in our marriage and our relationship, because, you know, we like to talk about building better relationships.
Yes.
And, you know, you've heard the definition of insanity. It's continuing to do the same thing, expecting different results.
Right.
So we have to do some things to plan and be intentional. And what Chuck and I have found is that to be intentional in our relationship, mm-hmm, we spend time each week going over our schedule, because right, what was happening is that we would book up our weeks, you seeing people, me seeing people, mm-hmm, and we would only give each other the leftovers, which ended up being not much.
Yeah, right.
And
right,
so we made a decision to set aside one day every week that's just for us, that we've already decided ahead of time not to schedule any appointments,
yes,
or anything with friends or family. It's just for us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that thing, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So we've definitely had to do some planning. And, you know, I remember hearing Gary Smalley say that marriage is like each of us being in a separate canoe on a lake. Mm-hmm. And the natural currents in the water will carry the canoes in different directions, yeah, unless you purposely steer toward each other. Mm-hmm. And marriage is like that too. We have to purposely steer toward each other.
Right.
So you and I planning our schedule was one way that we could steer toward each other.
Right. That's what the oars are for.
And you know, another thing that you mentioned to me too was communication, because communication is the lifeblood of any relationship. Mm-hmm. And we were talking recently about how much we needed to check in with each other. Mm-hmm. And you come up with really good questions that we can ask each other when we check in. And I remember a really good one, and that is, what was I like to live with this week?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I know. When I first heard that question, I thought I could never ask her that, because she might tell me. And then what do I do? Yeah. But that's how you find out what you need to change.
Right.
See, because if we never confront what we need to change, we just keep going along, hoping the other person will change, but we don't take responsibility for anything that we need to do. And when you ask each other, what was I like to live with this week, you don't use that as a blasting time of saying, well, I wouldn't do that if you wouldn't do whatever. No, that's not the purpose of asking that question. Mm-hmm. It's to find out what we can take responsibility for to change, mm-hmm, and do something about it, because it starts with us. There's a lot of people that's waiting for the other person to change and get their act together, and then nothing changes, nothing ever happens in the relationship.
Right.
You be the first one to change. You be the one to say, Lord, I want to be the example of change. And, you know, and if the other person doesn't respond to it, at least you're changing. You can feel good about that.
I do. I'm a firm believer, too, when one person changes their behavior or seeks healing or does improvement, that it affects the other person. It affects the relationship. And if you are acting and behaving different, the other person's going to respond differently to you.
It really does.
So you
do
need to take responsibility for ourselves.
Well, and for a man, the more I like you, the more sexually attracted I am to you.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't like you, and if I don't like how you conduct yourself or the way you talk or how you speak to me, boy, the sexual part just goes right out the window, and then the other partner says, well, I guess they just don't desire me anymore.
Yeah.
Well, that can be true, but it starts with how we're treating each other, and the more you like each other, you don't have to like what each other does always, but you just find ways of focusing on the things and being intentional about what you do like about each other. Because, when we got married, nobody was forcing us to get married. I don't think there was anybody with guns in the chapel that was forcing us to do that. We got married because we wanted to really commit to each other. And so it takes us being intentional to keep that same feeling that we had at the altar alive when you're married 30 and 40 and 50 years.
Right, and when we're first married, we are very affirming of each other. We notice everything that's right about each other.
Totally.
Very affirming and encouraging. And so I think it's good to continue that, look for ways that we can affirm and encourage. And as you were talking about wanting to make love, if I am affirming you and admiring you and respecting you, especially in public, that draws you toward me.
Right.
But if I don't, if I'm putting you down and disrespecting you in public, that closes your spirit toward me.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make you want to be with me.
No, not at all.
So
we teach people and try to practice ourselves to treat each day like your first date. If you go on a first date with each other, you're not going to get in the car and say, you know what your problem is? You're not going to do that. You never do that. Because maybe you want to go out on another date.
Right.
So you just keep being honoring and respectful.
Yes. And talking things through to resolution. That's another area we talked about recently is that we wanted to respond better whenever one of us feels hurt.
Yes.
And we didn't think it was realistic to not respond in a hurt way, because it's just like your example is hitting your thumb with a hammer and going, now don't react. Don't act like that hurts.
Right.
Well, you can't. And so we can't help it when we're hurt or something triggers us, but we can change how we continue to act about that. So we can take a time out, but we can make sure we come back together and talk that through using the speaker-listener technique that we've talked about and the time out if necessary. But to talk things all the way to resolution.
Absolutely.
You and I really love being close.
Right.
And so when something happens that causes us to withdraw from each other, we don't like it.
Well, absolutely. And that's such a good point. And the thing that I thought of when you were talking too is never try to talk about something when you're upset and when you're angry. Say the housework really needs to be attended to, and you both have kind of let things go, and now the house is a complete disaster. Well, okay, that's a problem. So part of problem solving is to come together and say, okay, we really need to concentrate on cleaning this house. So let's focus on organizing our time and our schedule to where we can devote an entire day or morning, whatever it takes, to get this house in order. And you can blame each other forever, but you're still not going to accomplish cleaning the house.
Right. But I like that you're saying we. That
yeah.
you're not saying you. clean up this house, but you really help a lot, and I appreciate that.
Well, I'm glad.
So it's something we can do together.
I'm glad you're not saying we. Does that mean you have a mouse in your pocket? So we're both responsible for doing things around the house, and if you come up with a plan to say, okay, let's really focus on my part and your part, and both really be intentional about getting those things done.
Right.
We like to talk about the things that we like to do and things we don't like to do.
Yeah.
And if we can choose to help each other out in that area, then maybe vacuuming is not your thing.
Yeah.
I could say, okay, I'll be responsible for the vacuuming.
Yeah.
And now, if you're both saying that, then you have a problem. You might have to hire it done. But if you don't have the money to hire it done, then one of you has to do it. But it's just picking things that you don't mind doing. Maybe one of you don't mind cleaning the windows or washing the dishes or doing the floors, whatever. But you have to be talking about it and intentional about taking responsibility. Right. Boy, our time goes so fast, and there's so many areas we can get into, but we really encourage you to think about how intentional am I about problem solving? How intentional am I about honoring my mate or my family? How intentional am I about the things that come out of my mouth? Am I speaking with honor and respect? Or am I just justifying my words, saying somebody has to tell them the truth, and it's going to be me? Well, you're going to live a very lonely life if you're living that way, because we all need to hear truth, but it has to be done in an honoring, respectful way. Well, God bless you today. It's been great to be with you, and we encourage you to press the like, subscribe, and share button. That helps us on our program, and we will look forward to seeing you next time. God bless.
If you are blessed by this ministry, please subscribe, like, and share. You can also make donations at chucklewisministries.com. Join us to keep uncovering the tools to build better relationships together. Let's do this again next week.